Well, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today it is February 6th. Pretty nice day, my birthday actually, and it's a little bit windy, but other than that it's nice. What we're going to be doing today is replacing some of these posts. This one right here, if you guys remember, whenever we loaded our cows, that post actually snapped off, so we need to get it replaced. And then there's one out there that I hit with the full rigger the other day. We'll talk more about that later. And I'm also going to be talking a little bit about the history of our farm, just how it came to be and how long we've been here and just stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. Well guys, it's been about 4 or 5 days since I've been out here working on these posts. I tried to make the video all in one day talking about the history of our farm and working on the posts, but I really kind of forgot about doing the history part of the farm with the video and just kind of focus more on the posts. And then whenever I tried to go back, I forgot what I had already talked about, so it just turned into a mess. And I'm coming back out here. I'm going to try and explain everything all at once so that hopefully it makes a little bit more sense. Before we get started, if you guys have any questions about anything, feel free to ask down in the comments. I'm not saying I'm going to answer all questions because there are certain ones that I'm not going to, just for the safety of my family and me. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and if I don't want to answer that, I'll just tell you. It doesn't bother me at all to tell you that I'm not comfortable answering that question. I just want you guys to understand where I'm coming from with that. But my family's been in this general area for a long time, and my mom's side of the family has been down here in the river bottoms since back in the 70s. In 1970, somewhere around there, they bought a house about 2.5 miles straight that way. And that would have been my great-grandparents that bought that house. And they lived down here till 1993. And 1993 is the date that changed this area forever. In 1993, there was a major flood down here. That house over there had, I want to say, 20 or 21 feet of water. Our house had 9 feet of water. It was not our house at the time, obviously. We turn around here. This concrete pad used to be a silo, just like that one. It got washed away. Turn around again. That foundation out used to be a big hog barn. It got completely washed away in the flood. Several other houses, some trees over that way. There used to be a house down there, and I could just go on and on with the houses and stuff that got destroyed. But one other major one that I do want to kind of touch on is a house that was about 4 miles that way, and that's where the water went over the levee. And it just so happened that there was a house right next to the levee where the water went over the levee. And unfortunately that house got completely destroyed. There was so much current because obviously once the water starts going over the levee, it eats the levee away and just destroys the levee. So since that house was right where the levee broke, there was so much current that basically what happened there is just all the earth got ate away from around the foundation in the basement of that house. And it dug a huge hole pretty much and just picked that house up with all the other barns and silos and stuff, and just kind of, there's video of it out there that I've seen where the house just kind of picks up and just starts moving slowly and then just kind of goes down and crumbles into nothing. So there were several other houses that just got bulldozed. Nobody ever redid or anything like that. So it was a pretty big deal here, and the water was up in the houses for I think like 6 weeks or something like that. So nobody could get to their houses or anything for that amount of time. And obviously whenever water stands in a house for that long, it does lots of damage. And the Mississippi River is about 1.5 miles or 2 miles straight that way, and pretty much levees going all the way around us where we are here. There's one right over there that you guys probably can't see on the camera, but all the major creeks and stuff that run out to the Mississippi River have a levee system on both sides of that creek, so that whenever the Mississippi River comes up and backs up into those creeks, the water doesn't go everywhere. It stays contained inside those levees. Well, what happened in 1993 was there was just so much water, and it just simply went right over the levees, and that happened in several different spots. So it was very destructive to this area and caused lots of damage. Okay, well everything's obviously all taken down. I guess I'm gonna have to get the tractor out to pull the post up. I don't want to bend it too much because I'm afraid it's gonna snap off, and if I could, I would like to be able to pull all that out in one piece so that I don't have to do as much digging. It'd just be easier that way. Before I go on, I probably ought to just clarify something. It's not like we're in a flash floodplain here at all. If we were to have to move out or something, we would know well in advance. We'd have several weeks to get all of our stuff out. And it's not like a flash flood or anything like that where one morning we're going to wake up and we've got to get out. you know, within a couple hours or something. It's not like that at all. If it floods here, we'll know well in advance, and we'll all be able to get to safety with no problems at all. I just thought I'd ought to say that and kind of touch on that a little bit. So obviously, my great-grandparents' house was underwater for several weeks, and they couldn't get to it. Whenever they did, they decided that they weren't going to move back in. The water got up into the second story of the house. They actually went in there with boats. I remember them telling Mom and Dad talking about this. They went in there with boats when the water was up, and they literally stepped in the top window into the top floor of the house. That's how much water was there, and the water was up to the beds that were up there in the top level of that house. So just an unbelievable amount of water. You really can't picture thinking about that much water. I've seen videos and pictures, but I really just don't think it's ever the same, and I'll never really be able to comprehend it completely. So, like I said, they decided not to move back in, but my grandma and grandpa did move back in there. I'm not exactly sure whenever they got moved back into that place. I mean, I guess it'd probably be at least a year or two. But in 1997, that's the year that my mom and dad got married. And about 3 months before they got married, they were looking for a place to buy. And they came across this place here, and that's where it kind of comes into the picture. Now I've just got to find a post that's going to work for us to put back in there. So that's the post that I'm thinking about using right there, that big tall one. But I'm beginning to think that that probably needs to wait till tomorrow. It's getting pretty late. It doesn't seem like I did a whole lot. But with moving the camera around and stuff like that, it takes quite a while, and I probably need to talk to Dad before I use that post. I'm not sure what he thinks about that, so I'll see you all tomorrow. It is now the next day in the video, and there's a post that was a little bit taller that we decided that we were going to use after I talked with Dad. We decided to use a taller one just because we're thinking that in the future we could possibly take and put a bright light up on this post. So if we were to put this taller one up there, it would work a little bit better. So that's why I decided to go and get this one. Come down with it. Well, it's set and it's standing, so that's good. Dad just so happened to kind of come out as I was standing it up. The reason that he's home today is because he was up all night, sick. So he took a day off from work, and yeah, he's not feeling very well, but he just so happened to kind of come out. And with him being out here, we rigged it a different way. Something like that, it's always better to have two people than one person whenever you're messing with heavy logs or big poles like this. Nobody had done anything with this house. It had pretty much sat empty for 4 years. The farmer had kind of been working on it a little bit. He had got everything gutted out and hadn't really started, fixing anything back up, but had got all the mud cleaned out of the house and ripped out all the walls and stuff like that, so it was down to the studs. And that's how it was whenever Mom and Dad walked through it to look at it, and they decided that this was the place they wanted to buy. And Dad bought the house on a handshake, not something that you see anymore. And Dad worked pretty much for 3 months every night after he'd get off of his full-time job. He would come here and work on this house, redoing it, and would work on it for a couple hours, and then go to sleep and get up and do it all over again. And he did that for pretty much 3 months straight. And I don't think he got it all the way finished, but it was finished good enough to where they were able to move into it before they got married. And when they moved in here, there was no fence, so Dad put up every stick of fence on this place. He did all that. This barn right here, it only used to be this center part where the four-wheelers parked back there. Dad added on both of those lean-tos to both sides. There's been several other things that he's done. We've put up this carport. We've done some stuff with a silo, put up some other shelters, and just all kinds of work that we've put in here to this place to get it how it is. And Mom and Dad have been living here for coming up on 26 years here, I believe. And within those 26 years, there's been one other time that we've had to move out, and that would have been 4 or 5 years ago, I believe. I might try and find some pictures and throw in here of the water whenever it came up. But we were out of our house for 6 weeks, completely moved out. The Lord spared us, it didn't flood. We really thought it was going to. This road right here had about 5 feet of water on it in a couple different places, so obviously no way we could get down here. And it was just crazy seeing all that. The bottom part of this big pasture down here was completely underwater. We had to replant all that whenever we moved back in. Alright, I jumped on the four-wheeler and drove up here to where the levee is, and the picture that I showed you guys right before was of this bridge. You could see that the water was up on the bridge, and obviously all this was full of water. Obviously we did not have much more room to go with it, and it would have been coming over the levees another 4 or 5 feet, and it would have been coming over. And when Mom and Dad first moved in, obviously, like I said, there was no fence, so I'm not really sure how long it had been, but Dad put this fence up first with the feedlot, and that's the first fence that he put up so that he could get some animals. I'm not really sure when they got their first cows, but he bought a couple cows and was raising them just in that feedlot. We had an old Ford tractor and an old baler, and that's what we would use to bale up our pastures, and we'd make small square bales is what they would do, and they just fed the cows hay all year around. And after a couple years of doing that, I think they decided that this was getting old, and that's whenever they put up all the fence. But I just wanted to kind of touch on a little bit of the history of our farm and stuff like that. I've had a couple people ask some questions and stuff, so I guess that's going to probably wrap this part of the video up. Like I said, if there's anything that I didn't explain very well, because I'm sure there's probably going to be, go ahead, feel free to ask if you've got any questions. I won't take offense to anything or at all like that. But that's going to wrap this part of the video up, so I guess we'll go back to working on the post now. Alright guys, it is now Friday, February 10th. On Wednesday, it rained. We got, I want to say, probably 1.5 inches. I'm not really exactly sure. So obviously I wasn't out working in that. And then on Thursday we had just some crazy wind, and I didn't want to film in that. So today we're going to get back out here and we're going to get this project finished. Alright, the first thing I need to do out here is get all the staples taken out of this old post so that we can get that out of the way. Alright, well that literally took no time at all, so I'm already done with that. You can see I was able to pull the staples out with a screwdriver, so that just kind of shows how rotten that post really was, and it was definitely time to be replaced. So now I'm going to run up to the house and grab a couple shovels. Alright, well I was able to get everything finished up down here, and it's looking pretty good. It was a little bit harder than that other pole, just because we're down here on the bottom of our pasture, and like I said before, it's harder to dig down here just because it's clay. So we got that rain the other day, and everything was kind of sticking together. And I got the hot wire all put back up, and I also got the fence stapled back to the post. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, I appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next video.